You only believe in the past when you feel the emotions of the past. The only time you're going to believe in the future is when you feel the emotions of the future, right? Okay? So in order for us to change a belief or perception about ourselves and our lives, we have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body. And your body literally has to respond to your mind. That the choice that you're making to change in that moment becomes a moment in time that you never forget. And here's the key. The stronger the emotion you feel when you make that choice, the more you'll remember the decision. Okay, so then how do we down-regulate that old belief? If the trauma created an emotional quotient of 6 or 7, then your decision to change your beliefs got to be a 9.
Right.
And you got to come out of your resting state, and that moment has to define you. You could say, I know exactly where I was, the time of day it was, who I was with, when I made my mind up to change, right? Because you created a long-term memory. Long-term memories are created from strong emotion,
yes.
right? But if the amplitude of that emotion is greater than the betrayal, boom, the body starts responding to the mind, and you're actually giving your body a taste of the future emotionally. So your body's actually getting the taste of that future event. Big explosion in the quantum field, big explosion. So the side effect of that is if you combine that clear intention with that elevated emotion, you're basically remembering your future, and it looks no different than remembering your past. Think neurologically within the circuits of that memory and feel within the emotions of that new belief and watch your life begin to change, because nothing changes in our life that we change. And when we change our energy, we change our lives. Thought has a frequency. Every thought produces a chemical. So if you keep obsessing about your lack of finances, your lack of time, your lack of energy, what are the chemicals you're feeding your body? You're taking thought, it's producing a frequency, and that frequency in the form of chemistry is storing that thought emotionally right in your second center. You feel guilty, you feel unhappy. The moment you feel unhappy, then you generate more thoughts equal to that feeling, which makes more chemicals, and you keep taking energy from the brain and storing it in the body. If you react to people in your life, and you feel anger, frustration, whether it's traffic, the news, whatever it is, you're drawing from this field, this electromagnetic field, you're tapping that resource, and you're making chemistry out of it, and the field shrinks. So now, by doing that and living in survival, the body no longer is a magnet. So now you have very little energy in the brain. In fact, 5% of the energy is in the brain, and 95% is stored in the body. Now the body's been conditioned emotionally. So a lot of energy in the body, very little in the brain. So in our work, we want to move energy back up to the brain. Once it makes it here, it's going up, right? So we do these different meditations and these different techniques to draw that energy right up to the top of the head. Now, when this energy shakes loose and it starts to move, the sympathetic nervous system switches on. And instead of releasing energy out like you're being chased by a predator, that same energy is going up into the brain, and the brain switches on and it goes into these very high frequencies called gamma brainwave patterns. Now the person has an arousal, but the arousal isn't fear, it's energy that's being released into the brain. And you can only describe it as ecstasy or bliss. So the energy of guilt that was stored from thinking and feeling in the same way releases, and it travels up to the brain and is going back. And when it reaches the brain, what happens? You get more energy in the brain and it begins to produce that external field. So you're beginning to create a field around your body. Well, once the energy is moved, you're going to feel pretty blessed in that moment. The amazing thing is that rush of energy that's moving into the brain is changing the brain's physiology and producing that field. And now you have energy to heal. You could make your brain work better in 4 days. You could make your heart work better in 4 days. You could make your immune system 50% stronger in 4 days. You could regulate 8 different genes in 4 days that are all promoting neurogenesis and stem cell production and oxidative balance and all kinds of wonderful things. Cellular structures enhanced. All of this stuff is really cool because if you don't know that that's possible, right? Then it doesn't exist for you, right? Like if you're unconscious to the fact that you could heal yourself, you'll make the same choices you always do. So I'm challenged in my own way at a different level to do my best, to do make the right choices all the time. And sometimes those choices, I can't rely on anybody else but me to make those choices, because nobody else knows what it's like to be me than me. Even my closest friends think they know me, but when it comes down to making the choice, it's a lonely moment, right? Because I'm doing my best to try to preserve this work and to inspire people to apply it in their lives as many ways as I can. So a lot of times I get discouraged, like, oh my God, like another challenge. But I think when I'm truly in the right zone, I think the only way that we actually can grow in our lives is to be challenged, right? So, I think that the greater we evolve, or the greater we become, I think the greater the challenges, And so I have my own set of challenges that I have to really retreat from my life. I have to spend a lot of time alone, and I have to remember that vision, and I have to get beyond all those other things that say, wow, my God, this might be a good time for you to quit, or this is a good time for you to say, wow, this is getting pretty intense. I think for me personally, I guess I could say this is that what I love to do more than anything else is to create, right? I mean, the meditations that I develop and the things that I think about and the music that we work on creating, all that stuff, we've got great science to I know now what music works. I know what words work. I know the rhythm, I know the cadence, I know the mathematics of music that works really well. So like that stuff is the fun stuff. That's where I want to be, in the studio and with the sound and making the right meditations for people to, but I'm running a lot. I'm doing a lot of things over here. So the balance in my life to be able to make time for myself and the people that I love, and keep that private and keep that special, and at the same time interface with the world and provide them the tools to make measurable changes in their lives. You come up against a lot of challenges in that process. Yeah, accountability is one of the three things that creates excellence. Accountability is basically owning what you say you're going to do or what you're asked to do. The other element, of course, is competence. You got to be really good at it. And if it takes you your whole life to get good at it, get good at it. And if you have a vision or a mission that's bigger than you, and you put those three things together, you have a lot of excellence in an individual.